Today, a first look, including a first exclusive drive of the Audi Q6 e-tron. It sits between the Q4 e-tron and the Q8 e-tron, so this new electric EV SUV from Audi. And it's so crucial to drive it here today because this sits on the new PPE platform, Premium Platform Electric, that is used with Audi and Porsche. It's a collaboration, and that means that every Audi and Porsche in the future that is bigger than a compact one, so even like an electric Macan, electric Cayenne, electric Panamera, electric Q6, electric A6, everything will be on this platform and will be somewhat similar technology-wise. Here in the front we can see a large single frame grille, here all white out in this case. Usually we have all black out grills, but this special prototype paint. We can see the Audi rings now in a more two-dimensional styling and new light technology. We see these individual elements. This active light we can also see here in the front. You can see how the LEDs, they change a little bit in brightness, making the car look more alive. And you, as a customer, can set it individually then how your daytime running light is, either in the MMI or via an app, for example, on your smartphone. On the side profile, 21-inch wheels, the biggest ones available. Wide wheels, that's pretty fancy, isn't it? Maybe this makes it also to the final stage. I don't know yet, but I think it fits the car very, very well. Lengthwise, we're at 4.70 meters or 185 inches. It's about 20 centimeters or 8 inches shorter than the Audi Q8 e-tron, but they share the same wheelbase. Not the same platform, that's just basically coincidence, but you see that there's a very long wheelbase considering the overall length of the vehicle, and it means short overhangs both in the front and also in the rear. What effect will it have on driving? We'll find out later on. We expect rear-wheel drive versions and also all-wheel drive versions. We have the all-wheel drive one here today, with an acceleration figure around 6 seconds. The S model will be at 4.5 seconds, so pretty strong actually, or pretty quick. And the battery size, it will vary. You will have different sizes, but the one that we have here today will also be pretty much the most common one at the beginning, around 100 kilowatt hours. What range can we expect from that? We have to see with efficiency driving tests later on, but I expect at the moment up to 500 kilometers or 300 miles, something like that. But if you stay subscribed, we will also keep you updated with that one. Let's take a look at the rear, because I said short rear overhang and also OLED technology for the rear lamps. It's very interesting from the signature, and you can also define that yourself. And in the lower part, depending on the status the car is in at the moment, it looks like the light would actually be alive. So here also more playing with light and a strip that goes all the way through right here. Would you want to buy this camo paint directly like it is here at the moment? Then tell me in the comments. And here you can see in the lower part there is this alive LED function. It shimmers a little bit, so pretty cool. And when I then come closer to the vehicle, like this, here you can see, this is signaling the outside world, hey, you are approaching, maybe don't come too close. Turning indicators in the rear, or here the hazard lights, also cascading, and a new special feature, talked about communication to the outside world. Here, this triangle, this emergency or hazard light triangle, it is static, but it's actually there. Audi wanted to have it flashing as well, like the turning indicator, but that wasn't allowed, like regulations law-wise. But this is already something where the car says, hey, this is a warning, and it will also appear when, for example, a pedestrian or cyclist appears from the rear and then you're about to open the door. Yeah, maybe then pedestrians or cyclists have to learn that Audi vehicles show that one when the door is about to be opened or when the hazard lights are on. If you're watching us closely in 4K, full screen, full length, with Thomas and then you might have noticed right now there's a second charging port here, so one on each side. This one AC only, other side AC and DC, and the DC charging peak is 270 kilowatt from this 800 volt architecture, and we might expect some 10 to 80% state of charge figures, 20 something minutes. Driving technology wise, there will be air suspension fitted with this vehicle as an option, and then the different driving modes can also set different standards, you know, how stiff or comfortable it is. No rear axle steering, however, with this vehicle, and also no tilt control. But if that's really necessary, we'll also find out with the driving here today. As for the frunk, yes, there will be a frunk in the Q6 e-tron. Not allowed to show it to you yet. I could take personally a look, and it fits a charging cable or maybe even more. So, as I said, a lot of the stuff is still secret, but we could squeeze out as much as possible, all the information we could get for you. Let's take a look at the trunk or the boot. By the way, here the Audi rings, they have this two-dimensional look, but you can still feel them, so they are still three-dimensional. Let's open it right here and give you the first measurements. This manual cover, and then you have a little bit more than the meters, or 40 inches in width, and the length is a little bit less than a meter or 40 inches, but overall quite spacious, easily accessible. And then you can also fold the seats here, just fold them around like this, and it folds actually quite flat, so it will be pretty usable. As for the trunk space, the height here is 78 centimeters or 30 inches, so that's actually cool. I do also somewhat expect a Q6 e-tron Sportback, by the way. This is the new key fob. It is inspired by the ones before, but it doesn't have high gloss black piano lacquer, so it's the matte black, and I think that's a good choice. We are not allowed yet to show you the whole new interior, but what we can tell you so far is about the seating comfort. The ergonomics of the seat is really good. There will be different seating materials, also leather red one, microfiber fabric, but they still use also animal skin leather here in an electric vehicle for an all-new model. That's strange. Then headroom here with 189 or 6'2", still a lot of headroom left. I might expect also some panoramic roof options. The steering wheel is kind of familiar. We also already know it from the Audi Q4 e-tron, not the very same one, but also with hashtag capacitive BS buttons on the steering wheel. You do have some kind of feedback though, and for example also the heated steering wheel. Rear seats, as for the headroom, no problem at all, plenty of headroom left. And I've set the driver's seat to my driving position as a tall driver, and then we do have some legroom left here. This recess here also works well with the seat. Honestly, I would have expected a little bit more legroom than here in this very platform, but it might also depend then from seat to seat setup. The middle seat is of course also usable, but I can't show you that at this moment. But you can drive with 5 tall adults in this vehicle, that's no problem. Acceleration. Plop, that's 85, almost 90 kilometers an hour. So that's like 0 to 50-55 miles per hour approximately. The official figure to 100 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour is around 6 seconds here with the 55 model, so strong all-wheel drive model. Above that is only the S model, that's then a little bit quicker at 4.5 seconds in the acceleration. The electric motor setup, completely new electric motors from Audi. It works in a way that the rear electric motor is always the stronger one, actually. So you have some rear wheel bias, like with the classic Quattro, for example, where you had this 40-60. Can't directly translate it because it individually rules on each axle. So there's no mechanical link, of course, here in the electric platform. But you can still keep this rear wheel bias somewhat. And it's also very interesting what they did then with cornering. For example, when I'm at the outgoing of a corner and I open the steering again to accelerate out, then a little bit more power is diverted to the front wheels that you can better get out of the corner, and also getting pulled out of the corner, basically. As for suspension, you will optionally get an air suspension. We also have it here in this very vehicle, and it depends then on the driving mode. At the moment we are in the dynamic mode, but still, although it's the dynamic mode, suspension a little bit stiffer, and we have 21-inch wheels mounted. We still feel the air suspension, but we just get a little bit more feedback. But as we know also from the Audi setups, that even when it's in a sporty mode, it still keeps a certain amount of comfort, that you can basically sit in a dynamic mode in this vehicle and still drive it for your whole trip and not have loss of comfort, for example. Is this one here handling any differently to the Audi Q8 e-tron that was recently facelifted and also renamed? And it does feel significantly different indeed. And so what my gut feeling tells me, with the Q8 e-tron, you can still somewhat feel the combustion engine platform. This one here really feels completely different. What do I mean by that? If you drive a normal Audi A6, for example, an Audi Q8, an Audi Q8 e-tron, they all feel somewhat similar. You sit down and get a known feeling. This one here feels in a way different, but at the same time, suspension-wise, for example, and steering-wise, it feels known Audi, but just everything that goes on around you. You kind of feel the shorter overhangs. It feels more EV. This is what my feeling tells me when I'm driving this one. And the reason behind it is that they can make the car more efficient, better range. Also, it's quite cold up here, so it also doesn't have so much range losses, especially in colder temperature. That's the reason behind this whole platform, that you have a purpose-built electric vehicle and don't have to rely or share platforms then with combustion engines. You know, BMW does it differently. They build one and the same vehicle with different drivetrains from one assembly line, and both have pros and cons. You can make EVs better, so to speak, when you have a dedicated platform, but then again, you can react more flexible when the demand is changing between the powertrains. That's, for example, the advantage for BMW. My conclusion from driving is actually it does have aspects like steering and suspension which feel pretty familiar Audi, but this whole new platform feels so much more electric than anything else they have done so far. And the crucial thing I told you initially will be that all of the upcoming large Audi and Porsche models will be on this platform here, and that's why this basic driving feeling will also be somewhat similar. That's why this driving part is so relevant here today. The beautiful landscape here behind me, this is the Faroe Islands. It is basically somewhat in the Atlantic, but close to the British coast. Check it out on Google Maps, and we can also write the name description then in the comments. What else is there to watch right now? The Audi Q8 e-tron, the bigger brother, or one of the competitors, the Mercedes EQE.